Hello, hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to Sunday Talk episode number 142. In this episode, I interview two experts in their field. Okay, they are expert in English language. Okay, so they're gonna share, they're gonna give tips and advice that will help you improve your English, that will help you better your English in general. Make sure you grab a pen and paper because you have to take a note. They share a lot of tips in this interview. Before I start today's video, I want to wish you guys a happy Sunday. I hope your day is going well. So guys, without further ado, let's jump into the interview. USA Mon. Hello, Amy and Curtis. Welcome to USA Mon, the USA Mon Sunday Talk Show. It's a pleasure to have you guys here, and I'm so happy that you guys accept our invitation. I know my audience probably wondering who are those two beautiful people John invited on the channel. So I'll start with you, Amy. Could you tell my audience who you are and what you guys do?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Amy Whitney, and of course, Curtis Davies is the other face on the screen here.
Hello.
And we're actually from Canada originally, but we're living in Mexico these days. And we decided, oh, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, to start a website called Real English Conversations. And what we do on that website is we help people to improve their speaking fluency, to develop their listening skills for real world communication, and most importantly, to develop their confidence so that they're able to speak and communicate in English in a confident way. And we found that a lot of the programs that are out there, the courses that are available to English learners, they really bring them from level 0 up to kind of functional. And this is really including a lot of the immigration English courses that are available as well. But there's definitely a gap between being able to function and being able to thrive, which is
Yep.
really in this upper level.
Mhm.
So that's actually where we provide the support with the methods and the lessons and the resources that we provide to our students so that they can really know how to navigate that next stage of their English learning.
Really good, really good, really good. Because me, I grew up in a French-speaking country, and I speak different languages. So when I moved to United States of America, it's kind of a little challenging, to move to a country where you don't know. I mean, I know some word in English, but wasn't that much, and the people are talking to you and you don't even know what they're talking about. Sometimes you say yes where you're supposed to say no. You say no where you're supposed to say yes. So I think your service is gonna be very important and needed. For non-speaker. I mean non-English speakers in general, and that's really good. So my second question basically is for Curtis. Curtis,
Mhm.
do you think English is very important for non-English speakers when they immigrate to either US or Canada? Or what do you think about it?
Yes, definitely, for sure. I think it's important for a number of different aspects in your new life in an English-speaking country. So we're talking about easy day-to-day stuff that you could probably get by with going to the grocery store and
Hmm.
figuring out with online dictionaries or Google Translate.
Hmm.
But where it really counts to make sure you definitely can communicate is for the important daily stuff,
Hmm.
a doctor's appointment if you're not feeling well, and how to explain to the doctor what's going on.
Hmm.
And if you have a child, many families and parents move to, whole families move to Canada or the United States,
Hmm.
and their son or daughter, you have to talk to their teacher in English. You
Hmm.
have to
Yep.
explain what's going on, with that sort of thing at a doctor's office if they have something wrong with their kid. That has to be communicated in English. Also for job interviews, getting jobs is
Hmm.
usually one of the top things you have to do when you move
Of
to another
course. Yeah.
country,
Hmm.
and being able to handle that. And then when you get that job, you have clients and coworkers that you have to um, speak English with and communicate well with and have meetings with.
Mhm.
So definitely 100% from the just the little day-to-day things, but more importantly,
Mhm.
the real life stuff that matters, doctor's appointment, job interviews, and actually working in English as well.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I'm glad you say that because I have one of my guests probably like a month ago. When
Mhm,
he first moved to United States of America, he was living in Nebraska. So he went to grocery store, almost get into trouble because of his English. Because the lady, the cashier, said something that sound like another thing in French, which is not appropriate to say in that type of environment. So he trying to, that's how he understood it. So and, and they always get in trouble. So the police show up and they put in in the car, police car and all the stuff. But luckily there was another guy he knows who speaks French too. So who came, he asked him what was exactly happening and he explained everything. And the guy translated to the police officer. The police officer, was like, oh, it's just a mistake.
mhm,
That's a language barrier basically. So I'm glad you say that. So that's why I was like, English is very important, when you move to
mhm,
this country because you're not gonna be, even if you're gonna be able to speak your dialect or the, language you speak with people in your community, but outside your community, you're gonna talk to people who speak English. So I think
mhm.
it's very important. So I'm glad you say that, you know. And the third question is gonna go to Amy. Amy, here's my question. Now you guys are living in Mexico, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, hola and all that stuff.
Hola, ¿cómo
How
estás?
Hola.
was
Yeah.
that? Yeah, yeah. What do you think is the key to learn a new English? I mean new language in general, since you guys are learning Spanish now.
Okay, so this is actually a really interesting question. And, when I first heard it, I was like,
Mhm,
you know what? This question actually implies something that I think everybody believes to some level, which is that you can move to another country and you're just going to kind of absorb the language. The 5-minute transaction at the grocery store, or I don't know, ordering at a restaurant here and there, somehow you're just going to connect everything together and start speaking the language.
mhm.
And that wasn't my experience and not
All
actually
right.
how I learned.
Mhm,
So for me, I lived in Canada and I
mhm,
knew that I was going to be moving to a Spanish speaking country at some point in time. And
mhm.
I started trying to learn Spanish way back then.
Okay.
And I would say that the majority of my learning happened in Canada in a town with maybe 2 Spanish speakers. Like I wasn't having the opportunity just
Mm,
to walk up to strangers and start a conversation. But
mhm.
that's also another point. That doesn't happen in the real world. People are
Yeah,
busy, they're doing
yeah,
their
of course.
things. They're
Mm,
not your English teacher, right?
mhm,
Or Spanish teacher in my case.
mhm,
But really taking it back to that question, what is one of the keys of learning a language? Um, it's really about focusing on what you need to improve specifically and
mhm,
being conscious of the level that you're at. So that's going to change throughout the journey. As a beginner, you're learning basic structure, basic vocabulary, and things like that. And you can usually do that in a course or with whatever online material. But when you start getting to this communication stage, you realize I can't understand people. They're
mhm,
speaking and I'm only hearing a couple of words and I'm
mhm,
guessing and filling in
mhm,
the gaps. And that's really uncomfortable. So that's going to indicate you need to fix your listening.
mhm.
If it's speaking, for example, you might have this goal of, oh, I hate my speaking, I hate my fluency, I need to improve my speaking. But um, one of the keys here is to get really, really specific about what you want to improve. So improving your speaking, is it your accent? Is it your fluency? Is it your ability to express yourself clearly and with enough detail? Or is it just handling a particular situation? If you're working in a restaurant and you need to attend clients, you have to actually learn that type of dialogue and what you're going to hear. Learning that
Mhm.
little sliver is going to make this massive difference in your life and what you're dealing with.
You're dealing with.
So
Okay.
I think that that's really the key, is to narrow your focus and pay
Mhm,
attention to where you're at and what you
mhm,
need at this time, rather
mhm.
than general learning.
Okay, that's very good. I watched one of your video. You were talking about the grammar, like you saying that the level where they teach like the grammar, like full scale, like all those details, all the um how they call it grammar rules. You don't think
Yeah,
is very important to think on to check on like beginners all those rules at the same time. And in the video you mentioned that one level it's better to teach those beginners at like maybe, intermediate or level or whatever, to teach them those rules. That's when it's gonna start making sense to them. So I think it's a good point there when I watch the video because, sometimes, you start learning some, new languages and they're just throwing stuff at you. You're kind of confused. At one point, it's like, okay, what's going on? Yeah. And then you don't even know what to do. You don't even want to speak the language anymore because
yes,
you are afraid of, making mistakes and all those stuff. But I think if they slow down and at one point, like, okay, now when you start getting a little bit confident and, those rules, you can apply those rules, you implement those rules to make your conversation better, your English, not even English, but even Spanish or other languages,
any
that way you can,
language.
any language.
Any
So
language.
that way it's going to be comfortable to, to speak language. I think it's very good. But could you almost elaborate on that a little bit, like that
Yeah,
grammar,
yeah,
points and
definitely.
details. Mhm,
Yeah. So, what I find is a lot of people come to us, or come out of school, wherever they have been shown English.
mhm,
It's really taught based on a grammar system. You go through a textbook, chapter one, exercise one, and you move through every detail you could possibly know about everything.
mhm,
And when you're new, you don't even know how that really functions in real communication. So
mhm,
it's more like studying the language as almost like a history book or a math formula or something. I'm
mhm.
not
Yeah,
really
yeah.
sure, but it's
Mhm,
not real.
mhm,
And for my students, when they get to us finally, it's like, okay, look, I know you're focused on grammar and you've been led to believe your entire time that you've been studying English how important it is to be correct. But I really want you to spend just maybe 10% of your time working on grammar stuff and
mhm,
90% of your time using it at this stage.
mhm,
And from there, you're going to be able to identify which grammar things actually matter, that you're
mhm,
seeing all the time, that have a high frequency. And
mhm,
you'll realize that most likely 80% of what you learned is very, very specific and not critical to the communication goal,
mhm,
until you've reached a level of the language where you want to polish things.
mhm,
You can communicate now. Maybe it's not perfect, you make
mhm,
mistakes,
mhm.
but you want to improve and get to that next
To
level.
the next level.
When you
Mhm.
revisit grammar at that stage, that's where it's like, oh,
Everything
like
will make
almost like you're
sense.
reading a
Mhm,
summary, and then you're
mhm,
like, oh, I know everything except this and that. Oh, I didn't know that. And
mhm,
then you have the space in your head to actually apply those
mhm.
points at that time.
Yeah, that's very good. That way we won't get confused and all those. That's a very good point right there. So the next question is going to Amy again. Amy, how can speaking English increase opportunity for newcomers, whether they move to Canada or they move to United States?
Okay, so English and opportunities, I think, really go hand in hand.
Mhm,
And I really want you to just think about it from a perspective where you're in your own country right now and how
mhm,
things work. And we have a foreigner that doesn't speak the language of the local people applying
mhm,
for jobs.
mhm,
I mean, if the person is able to speak that language effectively and do their job, communicate with coworkers and do that sort of thing, of course you could hire them.
mhm,
But if they can't communicate, why would you hire them? They can't actually do the job effectively. So let's pretend that you get a job regardless. They hire you maybe because your skills are outstanding and they're willing to work with the language difference while you continue to develop your skills. But you're in a meeting with your coworkers and people are talking, and you have this idea that occurs to you and it's brilliant. You know it's great, but you're terrified of speaking because you think that your English is bad, you're not going to be able to communicate your idea clearly, and therefore you sit at the back of the meeting room quiet and kind of ashamed and hoping that nobody asks your opinion
Opinion.
about the topic. When it comes time to evaluate who should be promoted or a new position that becomes available in that company, they're not going to think of the quiet guy that never contributes or the quiet lady, right? It's always going to be, who is showing their
Mm-hmm.
skills and
So
a
they
good
won't know
fit.
what you know because
No,
mhm.
exactly. Like you're not able to actually share what you know.
Yeah.
So, it's everything from applying for the job, like that first barrier of,
Mhm,
okay, great. So you're a medical doctor, okay,
mhm,
and your English is, I guess it's okay for
mhm,
dealing with French people or Chinese people or whatever your
mhm,
native language is,
mhm,
but we can't have English clients,
mhm,
English clients that come to you.
mhm.
It's always going to be limited to your native language.
Language, yep.
So it's really, it's not only job opportunities, but your network of people. Do you
Mhm,
only want to have your local community of, like here in Mexico, it would be like me saying, no, I only hang out with Canadians.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
I don't want that. I love the country where I live. I
Yeah.
want to communicate. So the opportunities come from um, everything from professional to personal.
Mhm.
And even through your personal network, you may find other opportunities. So, really, just removing that barrier and making sure that you can connect with everybody is going to make a huge difference in every area.
Yeah, you're right about that because I experienced that myself when I moved to the US. I remember I was working on a company. I mean, I can do the job, but the thing is, my English wasn't that good. But they know that I can do the job, and that was like 10 years after, and they were giving me like my 10 years anniversary prize, and my manager was like, "And this guy, when he first started." I couldn't understand a word what he's talking, but all I can tell is he want to work. So he gave me the opportunity, and then later on, once since my English getting in better and better, they give me other opportunity. I moved to another position, all those, so come to your point. I think it's very important. That open doors, and you know that's very important right there. So the next question is going to Curtis now. Curtis, we take it's been almost 2 years now. We didn't talk to you. So Curtis, the next question basically is what do you think about speaking English with an accent? Like me, for example, I speak English with accent. I have, friends who speak English with accent. What do you think about it?
I think you can break it up into two categories almost. Um, your identity and who you are, and having an accent that's understandable and that doesn't need uh, any kind of it doesn't affect the comprehension of what you're getting across.
Mhm.
So category number one is you have a great accent, you can communicate, we can have a conversation in an interview in English like this.
Yeah,
That's great.
thank you.
I'm instantly curious when I hear an accent. I'm like, where are you from? So
Mhm,
and then the second category is an accent that's a little difficult to understand.
mhm,
And that can be worked with through learning sounds of the words, mimicking the sounds of the words,
mhm,
knowing how they sound and when you hear them, and how uh, they sound when you say them. Your
mhm,
accent's still going to be there, but you can improve on those little things. So
mhm,
many of my students from different countries will be ashamed of their accent at first. They'll think, oh, I don't even want to have an accent.
mhm,
And it's looking at the right things of what you can do with your accent to improve the clarity and comprehension of the sound of the words that are coming out, and how to express those feelings and emotions, and
mhm.
and whatever it could be in English. But know that it's part of who you are, where you're from. It's like your fingerprint, but
Hmm.
for your voice. So be proud of your accent. I can tell you're proud of yours, John, and
Oh
you've got
yeah,
a great
yeah, yeah.
accent. Uh,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you speak English very well,
Thank
and
you.
you can communicate and handle interviews like this. So you're living proof right there that you shouldn't
Hmm.
be ashamed of your accent. And
I have one more thing just to add is that everybody has an accent.
Of
I
course.
have an accent.
Hmm.
I'm from British Columbia in Canada, and that's
Hmm.
going to be different than someone on the east coast of
Hmm.
Canada.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter. Our really our accent just says, hey, we're from a different area, and
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's a good point right there because sometimes like as a newcomer, when you speak with native speakers, and you think you kind of you kind of feel ashamed of yourself, so, because of some of the native speaker, they don't have a patience to kind of listen to what you're trying to say and all those stuff. It happens, but not all of them like that. But some people, if they know that you come from another country, maybe your English is not that good, they're kind of patient to listen to you, or maybe sometimes they do like some gesture, maybe body language, just to understand exactly what you're trying to say. And that's a good point right there. And also another thing is you just mentioned that, Curtis, that you know speaking English or different language with accent is not it's not a bad thing, because when I first started a YouTube channel, I remember when I was recording my video, sometimes when I listen to myself, I was like, oh, what did I say here? Even though I'm the one who said it, but I was like, what did I say over here? So think about it. Other the person that you're trying to communicate to communicate with, that person will have a hard time to understand you. So times times we go by and trying to improve myself, listen to the video. And I was like, okay, no, this right here, I have to correct it. I cannot do this here. If I have to speak, I have to open my mouth widely. I cannot just, talk, slowly, mumble, nobody can hear what I'm saying. So those little stuff, and then some feedback, sometimes people will criticize, they kind of criticize so you can get better. So
Mhm.
all those feedback, you have to take them in consideration to improve your English. And I think, because me, like you say, I speak different languages. For me, I'm proud of myself. Here in the US, or somebody who lives in the East Coast will have a different accent than somebody who live in the West Coast. But
Mhm.
because you from another country, you feel like you have an accent. No, everybody. Even see, I know Schwarzenegger. He has accent, but this guy was a governor in California, so accent is not like a how to call it impediment or anything like that. It's just you didn't choose to be born in another country and have those accents. But as long as you can speak clearly, like Curry said,
Mhm.
so the person you communicate with, can understand you. That's all matter. And I'm glad you said that. So my next question here is gonna be for Amy.
Mhm.
What is the number one mistake English learners make? What do you think is
Okay.
the number one mistake?
I'm like a broken record with this one. I think I actually already mentioned it a bit in a previous question, but I'm going to go further because
Mhm,
this is really, really important. So, the number one mistake by far that I see is
mhm,
that people set out to improve a skill like speaking, but they don't do anything to actually speak. So they study grammar rules, they listen to podcasts, they're watching Netflix and spending hours and hours and hours listening to podcasts and things like that. But what they really want is to improve their speaking.
mhm,
So it's kind of this, I don't know, unconscious activity that you're doing where you know that you want to improve your speaking and you think if you work on a totally different skill, somehow it's just going to kind of transfer over to that other side. And um, I don't know, your Netflix character that you
mhm,
love to watch and you're studying or listening to every word is
mhm.
just magically going to come out of your mouth. But
No.
speaking and listening are two totally different skills. And as soon as you understand that a lot goes on in your head here, and the way that we listen
Mhm,
and what we need to do to understand is very different than what we need to actually produce the language, that can help you to separate it. So with listening, if you understand 80% of what you hear, you're going to have a pretty good idea. Like I personally, I think I have bad hearing in general. I probably don't hear 100% even in English, but if I understand, and Curtis can attest to that, but what was that? He talks to me. I don't hear
Yeah.
what he's saying. He's speaking English to me. He's staring at me and I can't understand him.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyway, but if I hear 95% of something, that's enough for me to be able to, oh, okay, I understand what's going on and I can
Mhm,
reply. But even with those gaps, 80%, for example, even with a gap like that, you can fill in the details and kind of guess. But
mhm,
when you're speaking, you can't just create 80% of the sentence with 80% of the words and 80% of the rules. Like,
mhm,
if you do that, you're going to create probably something that no one can understand.
mhm,
So, having to think through all of these things, remembering the words, thinking of the structures, how to actually move your mouth to
mhm.
produce that sound in
That's
a
all. Yeah.
way you understand,
Mhm,
that's something that takes practice. So the number one mistake would be wanting to improve this, but doing activities that do nothing to improve that.
yeah. Opposite
And
stuff. Mhm,
and that was actually my biggest mistake that I made with Spanish. Um, there was a period, I mean, I've been learning Spanish forever, but there was a period where I was a useless Spanish level
mhm,
student, low beginner, or not low beginner, but pre-conversational.
mhm,
I knew a lot of vocabulary. I knew a lot of rules. I could do the grammar drills, no problem, and get great marks on them. But when it
mhm.
came to speaking, I wasn't able to actually communicate.
Communicate.
So I wasn't working on practicing speaking and developing my listening. I was working on memorizing stuff. So just really be aware of what you want to improve and make sure you're doing activities that help you to improve those skills.
That's very good. That's very good. Yes, because it makes sense. You know, you want to go this direction, but you learning something that will take you to the other direction. So
That's
it
right.
just making total sense.
Yeah.
Well, so the next question here is going to Curtis again. Oh, Curtis,
Mhm.
what tips do you have for English learners, like tips in general?
Okay, I've got a couple great tips based on what I see from students coming to me.
Mm-hmm,
Uh, One tip is don't be worried about being perfect. Stop worrying about perfection and start focusing more on communication. Because when this happens, your confidence, something magical happens, and you're like, I want to figure out how to communicate, even if there's if it's not perfect, if there's a mistake, or
mm-hmm,
I miss a word, or
mm-hmm,
maybe I say it in the wrong way, or there's a word order thing. um, because if you're too much of a perfectionist and afraid of your mistakes, it'll stop, it'll put those blocks in. My students say, I'll be talking and then I'll just freeze, and I'll go blank, and it's like, oh, I gotta go, or they'll
mm-hmm,
find some way of just being the quiet person again. So confidence goes up when you start to get used to communicating even in a non-perfect way. And a lot of those students come from, especially in, Asian countries, and other countries where they're trained and taught that making mistakes is a horrible, horrible, horrible thing.
mm-hmm,
So they almost feel like crying if they make a little mistake.
mm-hmm,
So it's not about being perfect, it's about getting your message across and communicating. And that's a huge, huge tip that I want to get across. Another thing is to don't hesitate. um, don't don't wait to learn. If you're a beginner, your next goal should be, how can I put some sentences and phrases together to communicate and get that message across.
Mhm.
If you're already communicating and having simple conversations, your next goal should be, well, I got to work on speaking in more detail
Mhm.
and explaining things with a little bit more information. And if you're at that advanced level, you should set the bar high to do things that are essential for just moving and having your new life abroad,
Mhm.
handling job interviews and doing things at the more advanced, higher
Level.
level
Mhm.
of communication. If you're at that, you set the bar higher. So don't wait, don't hesitate. There's people that have moved to Canada or the US, and they say, wow, I should have started in my home country. I should have started my
Mhm.
practice
Mhm.
and working on this stuff then, instead of waiting to get here. Things will be a lot easier if you start as soon as you realize, yeah, okay, this is a new direction, a big step
Mhm.
in my life, moving to the US or Canada from my country.
Mhm.
I should start working on it as soon as possible. So don't hesitate. So those are my two really big ones. Don't be a perfectionist. Don't worry about being perfect. It can actually hurt your fluency and hurt your communication skills. Focus on the communication skills, and then don't hesitate, don't wait.
Okay, okay, very good. Let me ask you this one before we move to the next question. It's kind of like follow up question basically. So when I first moved to the US, people always tell me, go and watch cartoons and watch TV from caption on, or listen
Okay.
to radio and all those stuff. You think it's a good tip?
I think making learning fun and enjoyable is a good tip. And those things are fun and enjoyable, but make sure you're not doing it in a passive way. Make sure you're working on a video
Hmm.
or a podcast in sections or chunks, and trying to use those phrases and things that native speakers
Hmm.
use, or the things that you think are really cool English.
Hmm.
Find imaginary situations, or put yourself in those situations where you can use them. So I think, find something that feels comfortable, and fun. So
Hmm.
that's my biggest takeaway to learning from podcasts and videos and entertaining things,
Hmm.
is you have to get specific and detailed, and then after you do that, it takes some time and patience. But watch the show or listen to the podcast again after you've learned how to use some of the things and
Hmm.
summarized it and stuff like that. And then that's where the real entertainment happens.
So you can
That's where,
understand. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
And just to add on one more point there, just
Hmm.
related to watching something with the subtitles,
Hmm.
um, it kind of seems to me that this is just the general advice that everybody says, even though they don't like. Okay, some of us are lucky; we have auditory learning, and it's okay. But for some of us, we listen to something 1,000
Hmm.
times and we still
Hmm.
don't understand. For me, I was one of option B. I could not understand. I could understand words I knew really well, but I
Hmm.
couldn't understand anything in between. And the game changer for me was when I stopped focusing on what I can hear and I started trying to figure out how to understand what I can't. And you're
Okay.
going to need support to do that, like subtitles or a transcription or whatever. Because if you
Hmm.
hear something and you can't understand it, it doesn't matter how many times you hear it, you're still not going to understand. Maybe
Hmm.
you don't know the word, maybe your ear can't detect those sounds or connect it to anything.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, use whatever media you like, but don't just sit in front of the TV and watch, and I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's the long road, really,
Yeah,
and there are
you're right
better
about that.
ways.
You're right about that because sometimes you might hear something that probably sound like something something in your language or maybe in French
Yeah.
or like I was talking about my friend earlier.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, it's not, unless you say like, okay, now maybe you look for the, explanation, the dictionary, then you're gonna understand the full sentence now there. So that's a great tip right there.
Mhm.
So, Amy, the next question is for you. So what
Okay.
general advice do you have for newcomers who move to the US or Canada, like general advice?
Okay, perfect. So, actually, I mean, I'm talking about listening again, but a different
Mhm,
point.
mhm,
So, the first thing that I see a lot of people do is when they're speaking or they arrive to an English speaking country, they get hit with this wall of fast English that they can't understand. And I think really it's because we're adults. We feel uncomfortable to admit, hey, I don't know what you're saying to me. I
mhm,
don't understand.
mhm,
And it's easier for us to be like, okay,
mhm,
and we never really know what they're
mhm,
saying to us.
mhm,
But
mhm,
just remember that the person speaking to you wants to be understood, okay? And you want to understand.
mhm,
So really developing a few key phrases, questions that you can use to get people to slow down and communicate that you need to have the speaking adjusted a little bit is important. Don't be ashamed to ask people to repeat, to clarify, and slow down. Um, one of the phrases I say all the time as a native speaker is, "What was that?"
mhm,
And that's an easy way to get someone to repeat. Or
mhm,
sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding. Can you slow down a little bit?
mhm,
Um, I don't like to encourage people to say, I'm a newcomer, I don't understand. But
mhm, mhm,
if you need to, if it's a critical situation, I mean, I still do it. If I
mhm,
have a difficult accent on the phone and I can't understand, I mean,
mhm,
I know how to speak Spanish. I just can't hear them.
mhm,
So I
mhm,
need them, hey, it's not my first language. Can you slow down and speak clearly?
mhm.
And they will. So make sure that you don't feel ashamed about asking for that. Um, the second thing is for, actually, this is for the ladies or
Mhm,
the, the homemakers, the ones that are staying at home.
mhm,
Um, oftentimes the men are the ones that come to the United States for whatever job. I mean,
mhm,
sometimes it's the opposite, and that's totally fine. But I really want you to think about your partner who is at home taking care of the kids, especially if you are trying to raise bilingual kids to still have your native acts or your native language in the household,
mhm,
but also trying to speak English. So maybe mom is speaking to the kids in French and dad is out into the real world developing his English skills and creating this massive gap in his English level compared to his wife.
mhm,
So, you know, your partner needs English as much as you do. You want them to feel confident, independent, and secure to go out into the real world to handle situations.
mhm,
And also not to feel ashamed when they're out and their kids are speaking perfect English because they're raised in an
mhm,
immersion
mhm,
situation. Their husband or the partner who's out working has a great level. And then there's the other person of the house who is struggling with
mhm.
English. So if you can, just try to make sure that everybody is getting the support they need and just making sure that everyone can communicate in English.
You're right about that. You're totally right about that because I've seen that a lot, among my friends also. Most of the time, the stay-at-home mom is the one whose English is like so, not that good, but because um, the dad, the father, he's going out every day, talking to people, native speakers, all the time. His English is better. But the one who stay at home, most of the time maybe just be, in front of the TV watching cartoon, but that doesn't help that much as you communicate with that real people like on native
Mhm.
speak and all those stuff. So you're right about that. That's a good tips right there. And then my last question is going to be for Curtis.
Dun dun dun.
I'm ready,
Yeah.
John. I'm
So so
ready.
so basically, yeah. So it's not like a question, but I know my audience are probably wondering where they can get in contact with you, in case they have questions, all those stuff. Also, where can they reach you at?
Okay, super easy. They can come to the website, realenglishconversations with an
Mhm.
s.com,
Okay.
and download one of our conversations from our podcast. There's transcriptions available and stuff too. And if you would like to improve your English, you
Mhm.
can book a trial lesson
Mhm.
with myself or any of our teacher teams.
Mhm.
And we can put together something for you. I'm speaking to the newcomers here,
Mhm.
that really focuses on the skills that you want to improve, the skills that you need to improve
Mhm.
for your new life abroad, to make it exciting, to make it to excel your new life abroad, job interviews, getting an apartment,
Mhm.
these sort of things. Our teachers can help you role play through the situations and help you step by step to actually work on a skill. So it's like having a coach or a mentor,
Mhm.
a personal trainer for your English. I tell my
Of
students
course, of
sometimes,
course.
but it's always focused on the right skill. So realenglishconversations.com
Mhm.
is where you can get in touch with us, and you'll see everything there, from our podcast to booking a trial lesson with one of our expert specialists.
Okay, I will put a link in the description also. That way, they can just click on it and go straight to the website. Amy, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, if you're feeling stuck with your
Mhm.
English and you feel like you're navigating some mysterious, you know, path and you
Mhm.
don't really know where to go or what to do, we do this every day. Like,
Mhm.
we talk to people, we find out what they need, we have
Mhm.
techniques and strategies, so you don't have to figure it out alone. And,
Mhm.
I just don't want to see, we have this happen a lot, that there are newcomers that come to us after 5, 8, 10, 20 years even of feeling uncomfortable with their English. Like, you
Mhm.
don't have to wait that long. Just get the
Mhm.
help that you need and, you know, get it done, move on, get past this English thing.
I know, right? And also, you guys have a YouTube channel as well. So,
Mhm.
please go and subscribe to their YouTube channel called Real English Conversations. They have a lot of videos over there. You're gonna learn a lot of stuff, through their free videos they have on YouTube. And well, Amy and Curtis, I can thank you enough. It's a pleasure, real pleasure to have you guys on this channel, where you can come back anytime you want. Just, you have my email. Just send me email if you want to come back, talk about, whatever you want to talk about. My channel
Absolutely.
is yours.
Mhm.
Okay. And thank you again. Have a
Thank
great day.
you.
And what you say, like adios in Spanish?
Adios. Yeah.
Adios, hasta
Hasta
luego.
luego.
That's
Thank you. Thank you, John,
You're
for
Muchísimas
the
welcome.
gracias.
opportunity.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you
Okay.
guys. Bye
We'll see you
bye.
Yeah.
soon. Bye bye.
See ya.
Here you have it. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys love it, learn something from it. If you know somebody you think might benefit from the video, please don't share with that person. If you want to be notified every time I have a new video, click on the bell. If you like the video, click on the like button. If you want to subscribe to this channel and be part of USA Mom family, click on the subscribe button. If you want to support this channel, we have a USA Mom shop. The link is in the description below. Once again, my name is John. Thanks for watching. Whatever you do today, do it peacefully. I'll talk to you guys in another video.
USA Monde.